the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Where you been? I've been waiting. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I am your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I will be with you all the way until 10 o'clock. Get set for 3 compelling hours of news, views and topical debate. Get on the phone and get on the show by calling me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I give you my word, I will play your message out. Can't say fairer than that. It is Wednesday, March the 5th. Here's what's coming up. While Generalissimo Starmer struts around pretending he's the great warrior bridge between Trump and Europe, yeah, right. Back here in Britain, the escalating migrant crisis he's doing absolutely nothing about goes from bad to worse. Another 326 foreigners crossed the channel illegally yesterday, taking the tally for March to a stellar 1,168. That's since Saturday. 1,168. They've been pouring over from France since the weekend, including a record 592 on Sunday, the highest number in a single day this year. That adds up to a staggering 3,224 since January the 1st and 26,466 since Labour came into their version of power. This spiralling catastrophe is out of control, and Starmer isn't even talking about it. What should this gormless government do to stop the boats? 0344 499 1000. And why the hell is that former steward of this ongoing invasion, Rishi Sunak, saying he should never have used the term stop the boats? The ex-Tory Prime Minister says it was too stark and too binary. What a load of wishy-washy Rishi rubbish. Hey, Rishi, why didn't you just do it? 0344 499 1000. In other news, find out all about the jailed people smuggling gang boss who has sneaked back into the country. And you'll like this bit. The Home Office doesn't even know. Talk about smashing the gangs, yeah, big time. And meet the hero, also the doctor who took a stand against mad NHS wokery and refused to reveal if he was pregnant. As a result, he was banned from donating blood. And as woefully weak Europeans get their knickers in a twist over Trump's treatment of Zelensky in the Oval Office, the American president looks all set to get everything he wants. So, was Trump really wrong to push the Ukrainian leader around? Certainly, that explosive bust-up seems to have resulted in Zelensky caving in to all of Donald's demands, and peace looks to be on the cards. So why criticise Donald Trump? Why criticise J.D. Vance? They're getting everything they want. And we're all going, oh, he bullied him, he wasn't very nice, he was rude. So bloody what? 0344 499 1000. In other news, after the police apologised for interrogating a Newcastle fan who tweeted her gender-critical beliefs, why is she still banned from attending her beloved team's matches? The club, Newcastle FC, even placed her under surveillance. Shame on them. I mean, why? 0344 499 1000. Plus, Philistine Chancellor Rachel Reeves takes down a portrait of Winston Churchill in the number 11 meeting room and replaces it with a woolen tapestry depicting an unknown woman. Same question. I mean, why? 0344 499 1000. And finally, Britain's best TV critic, The Sun's excellent Ali Ross, joins me towards the end of the show for a deep dive into everything that's wrong about Meghan Markle's dreadfully dreary new Netflix show, Meghan with Love. I was a former TV critic with a current TV critic. Yeah, should be fun. But what a boring disaster this show is. Did you see the reviews today? To a man, every single review panning it. Disaster, dreary, hopeless, pointless, and they're all right. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday night together. And we missed her last week, but she's back. So a warm welcome to the show, back to the show, to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, well, I love all the topics that we've got to get stuck into tonight, but I want to derail things temporarily.
Please do.
Just because there's a really important breaking story this evening, and that is to do with new guidelines from the so-called Sentencing Council that officially create a two-tier justice system. This new guidance from the Sentencing Council tells the courts that they must give special treatment to ethnic minorities. I am not.
Yeah, no, I've seen it, Isabel, and Robert Jenrick has stood up in the comments. I was going to bring it up, but you're quite right to raise this really toxic topic. Robert Jenrick quite rightly said, well, here it is in black and white, in print, evidence that we are now officially running a two-tier justice system. So you get a special dispensation if you're from an ethnic minority, a cultural minority, and or a faith minority community. So you'll get better treatment if you're from any of those groups than if you're, shall we say, traditionally white and British. Unbelievable.
Oh, and also, by the way, if you declare that you're trans or that you've got alcohol problems, I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. What has happened to our country that white British people are now treated as second or third class citizens? It is insane. It is going to breed so much resentment. It actually strikes absolutely at the heart of our values, our true British values, which are to do with fair justice for all, the equal treatment of people, whatever their background, whatever their, whether they're rich or poor, everybody should be equal in the eyes of the law. And there's always scope for those reports that explain someone's, the reasons why they committed the crime they did and their mitigation for that. How can that ever be to do with the colour of their skin? Really?
Yeah, or their religion. Just ridiculous. And these are now official sentencing guidance. Now, what I think's happened here is the stewards of our increasingly unfair, our increasingly divided justice system and policing system, the two-tier policing, two-tier justice warriors, if you like, they're so steeped in doing this unofficially that they forgot that they better keep it to themselves, and they put it into print, saying that if you're ethnic, from an ethnic or a minority religion community, you will get special treatment. You will get preferable treatment over those who are not members of those groups, and that's people like you and I and the many millions of white British citizens in this country. Absolute outrage, Isabel. You couldn't be more right.
I mean, it's so outrageous that even the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, who's hardly somebody that we would consider anywhere near on our side of the argument about anything, says that she's not at all happy about it. The question then is, how the hell did this happen on her watch? She's now playing a massive kind of reverse backpedaling, saying, oh, well, I'm not having any kind of two-tier justice on my administration. Well, I mean, the whole of this Labour government has been a shameful story of two-tier justice. We've talked about it pretty much every time we've done this show together, Kev, and now it's literally official there in black and white. So I would hope that so far from just, as she puts it, registering her displeasure, sounding like she's the late Queen or something, she should actually exercise her authority. That's what she's there to do, not register her displeasure. And on behalf of the very displeased electorate, reverse this guidance straight away. Scrub it out. That's it. We don't want to hear anything more of it. In the bin with that.
Yeah. As I say, what this is an accidental window into the psyche of the way this country works now. And here's Robert Jenrick, the wannabe Tory leader. I suspect he might be fairly soon, standing up and discussing just this.
Turning to the new sentencing guidelines that's been published alongside this statement, which will make a custodial sentence less likely for, and I quote, ethnic minorities, cultural minorities, and faith minority communities. Why is the Justice Secretary enshrining this double standard, this two-tier approach to sentencing? This is an inversion of the rule of law. We on this side of the House believe in equality under the law. Why doesn't she?
That's exactly right. Everybody in the eyes of the law should be exactly the same, regardless of creed, colour, class, wealth, standing in society. Everybody should be exactly the same. And this proves that our authorities, our government, our police forces, our court system do not actually believe in that. And that is a shift. That is a serious cultural shift that makes this country a more repressive place to reside in.
It really does. And you know, there are so many counts on which it has become terrifyingly repressive, even while Keir Starmer, without even blinking as he lies, claims that he's proud of our history of free speech and that it will last for a very, very long time. I mean, the guy has no shame, does he?
No, he doesn't. Well, listen, it's almost kind of on the same kind of topic because the migrant crisis, both legal and illegal, due to the fact that successive governments have let in around about 1 million legal migrants every year. Only last year, 850,000. That figure came out last week and didn't really get noticed because everyone was obsessing on the White House and Zelensky and Trump. 850,000 over the last year. So, and on it goes. So this is changing the face of Britain, and so is the illegal migrant crisis. We've just found out that, well, basically, ever since Saturday, illegal migrants have been pouring across the Channel, absolutely pouring across. And we've got the numbers here. Basically, it's 1,168 have come here since Saturday. Think about that. Since Saturday, 1,168. Yesterday, 326 more came across. And on Sunday, in a record for a single day this year, 592, nearly 600 in a single day. Now this adds up to 3,224 this year since the 1st of January and 26,466 since Labour came to power in July. So when we get round to next July, July the 5th, when we mark that terrible anniversary since this lot took power, my guess is we'll be on, that they will have presided over 50 to 60,000 coming over. So my point is, old Starmer has spent the last week really puffing himself up, acting like Generalissimo Keir. You know, I'm the Colossus striding the globe, forming a bridge between America and Europe. No, you're not. No, you're not. But he's not doing anything about this escalating, dreadful catastrophe that we've got here. This is spiralling on a daily basis, and now we've got the good weather. Just as we feared, they're starting to absolutely come across like an avalanche. And by the way, the word we use for that, Isabel, is invasion. That's what it is, and don't let anybody tell you or me or anyone else not to use that word. That's what it is. What is this government doing about it?
Oh, haven't you heard, Kev?
Yeah.
I thought you'd be impressed with what they're doing, because they are smashing the vile gangs, aren't they?
Smash the gangs.
They are apparently smashing them, except that it really isn't remotely working, is it? Which is why basically vast numbers of people from all over the world, but particularly starting out in Africa, are deciding that the risk of getting deported, or the risk of being permanently detained if they make this journey, is pretty much next to zero. There's a probably a significantly higher risk, tragically, of drowning than there is of being sent home, wherever they've come from, which they do their very best to hide. And this is just an astonishing daily failure by this government, with all the resources at its disposal, to tackle one of the biggest risks to our national security and the biggest burdens on the state, because each and every one of those that come across is a potentially a lifelong burden on the state, along with all the additional people that, once they're settled here, they will also potentially bring with them. The numbers involved are astronomical in terms of the cost. And this isn't me just doing these people down, saying, oh, well, of course they're going to be a net liability. I mean, that is the verdict of the official authorities on this. They are calculated to be heavy net liabilities. Why? Because they are generally very low skilled. Yeah. Fine, if they were brain surgeons, great, bring it on. But brain surgeons from all over the world don't tend to come in rubber dinghies.
Absolutely not. Now, lest we forget, the Tories, they're responsible for this. They're the ones who let this start to get out of control. It's no mean feat. It's no mean feat by the Labour government that they've made it worse, because it was catastrophic under Rishi Sunak and indeed his predecessors. But I think we're going to find out now, if you haven't heard about his speech today, this is why Sunak was so spectacularly useless. He's made a speech today saying that in terms of combating the migrant crisis, he should, listen to this, he should never have used the term stop the boats. The ex-Prime Minister says that was too stark and too binary. What a load of wishy-washy rubbish. Why didn't you... Stop the boats is what you had to do. I should never have used that term. You remember he used to stand in front of those lecterns with it written on the front. But, I mean, of course it's the term you should have used. And more than that, it's what you should have done. No wonder they don't solve this when it's too stark and too binary. What on earth is he waffling on about?
I mean, that says everything about why he should never have been in that job, and why it's fantastic that the electorate booted out the Tories. Unfortunately, what we've ended up with is something even worse. Yeah. What a disgrace, though. I mean, sorry, what an absolute disgrace, because what he's really saying there is that we didn't really mean it. That's what he was saying. He's saying it was a mistake because it was a political slogan. Well, the mistake was on those people who fell for that absolutely empty propaganda. His record speaks for itself. He didn't stop a single boat. They continue to come over in great number. And any party that does stop the boat will almost certainly not only be an election winning force, but they will remain in power for a lot longer than they would otherwise. It beggars belief, and I'm endlessly bewildered as to why this government, languishing as it is in the polls, it really is doing very badly, doesn't just stop the boats.
Stop the boats. Look, there are a number of ways you can do this. My favoured way, because maritime experts keep telling me it might be fatal if we turn the boats around in the middle of the channel. Although I think I've said this to you before. I can never work out why all these opponents of stopping the boats, when you say, well, why don't we just turn the boats around? They go, well, you see, if you towed it back, it could be lethal. It's very dangerous. But so apparently it's okay to tow the boats into Britain, but if you turn them round and tow them to France, that's lethal. What a load of cobblers. Now, when so my favoured technique would be to detain them. Just say, you've arrived in this country illegally. That boat is illegal. You don't have any documents. That's against British law. You are hereby detained. You will be convicted and then you'll be deported. Detain and deport. That's my favoured method. Why it is that people like Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer can't grasp that intellectual concept, I don't know. I think it's that neither of them actually wanted to stop the boats. I mean, saying I should never have used the term stop the boats, it's too binary and too stark. It makes me just want to hit him. What a fool. What a fool. By the way, that was just a joke. I'm not a violent man, often. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about talking of smashing the gangs, we're going to take a deep dive into one particular case that might alert you to just how serious the British authorities are about smashing the people smuggling gangs. You won't believe this one. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Well, Isabel, as you alluded to just now, there is this policy by the Labour government: smash the gangs, smash the people smuggling gangs. A lot of nonsense, of course. You can smash as many gangs as you like. If you don't stop the migrants, there'll be new gangs. This is just performative. It's for headlines. And by the way, if you are going to smash the gangs, maybe just once in a while you should smash a gang. They haven't managed to smash a single gang so far. So, it's a policy that will never work. Experts will tell you that, including the leader of Yvette Cooper's Border Security Command, Martin Hewitt, who said smashing the gangs won't work. So there's a thing. But the other reason that it won't work is they haven't smashed any gangs. But here is a sort of window into this government's commitment to smashing the gangs. It's the story of a people smuggler. His name is Alket Doughty. He's an Albanian. Some time ago in 2018, he was arrested living in Penge in southeast London and extradited to Belgium. The reason for that was that he'd run away, if you like, gone on the run to Britain after being wanted in Belgium and France for being a people smuggler. He was charging, his gang, big operation, was charging £13,000 to foreigners, to migrants, to sit in the front of lorries, or £8,000 to crouch in the back. These were refrigerated lorries, so when they were in the back, it was very, very dangerous. So he was arrested, having fled to Britain in this flat, deported, extradited to Belgium, where he received a 10-year prison sentence. After 5 years, he was released and returned to his native Albania. Journalists found him last week living once again in southeast London with his family when they contacted the Home Office and said, "Do you know about Alket Doughty?" "Oh, no, he's not here." They said, "Well, he is." So he's back living in southeast London with his family, and when approached by journalists, he said, "I am with papers. I have not done any crime in the UK." In fact, he's banned from living here forever. However, there it is, a people smuggler, not smashed, living here illegally, and the Home Office don't even know about it. That, I think, is a sort of microcosm, a snapshot of this government's approach to the migrant crisis.
What a brilliant illustration of absolute systemic incompetence. I mean, do you think he smuggled himself back into the UK? Presumably so, except that our systems are so useless.
He flew from Albania, by the way. He just got on a plane and flew in from Albania.
Yeah, but you'd kind of hope that when he put his little passport in the little reader, you know, maybe some bleep bleep alarms would go off to say, yeah, this guy, you know, on the computer system it says he shouldn't really be here. But no, he swiped his passport or whatever, ducked under the barrier, and soon he melted back into Great British society where, you know, perhaps if he gets caught again, he could be expecting some special treatment by the courts, given that he's presumably, you know, got some religion that he can claim is a minority. And
yeah, that's right, yeah. You'll be allowed to stay on the two-tier basis, yeah. I mean, but I think that the Home Office, the government, the police, the border force are completely lapsed, completely inefficient and undynamic in this area. I just don't think they really care.
I don't think they do, because if they did really care, they could be competent about it. They could allocate the necessary resources. I mean, look how many umpteen billions are being thrown at net zero. If a fraction of that budget were used to control our borders and have proper systems and proper staff to stop this endless flow of the wrong people being here and never being sent home or being able to just creep back in again, then this country, our country, would be in a much better place. But it is woeful. You're left with the impression that the government just doesn't really care, doesn't see it as a priority. And as you said at the beginning of this conversation, this is changing the face of our country.
Damn right.
And when you have several thousand people in a week coming over to the UK, that is a small town's worth. Imagine that. And these are popping up all over the UK. And we now have areas that I wouldn't even call ghettos, because ghetto implies that it's self-contained and different from other areas. We now have great big pockets of our country where the majority of people have only just come here and don't speak a word of English.
And let's talk about that. This is it. This is it. So, by the way, time and time again, we've done several stories. We spoke only recently to an Albanian who's been deported 3 times. He's been in jail twice. He's been deported 3 times, and each time he's just got on a plane or just come to Calais and come back. So,
I mean, that just wouldn't be possible. It isn't possible in well-run countries. If you did that, your name would automatically raise a red flag on the computer system. I mean, it just would. You know, I listened to Donald Trump saying that the lowest number of illegal immigrants had come across the border since he became president. And I just thought, if only we had a prime minister that could stand and say something similar with pride.
Now, let's talk about the effect of all of this. The fact that, criminals are coming and going as they please. The fact that 1 million a year, 1 million legal migrants are being let into this country. I would suggest this year we're probably going to be talking about 50, 60, 70,000 illegals coming across the channel. As you say, this is significantly changing the face of Britain. It is changing the culture of this country. These are 1 million foreigners every year. So in 10 years, that's 10 million foreigners from different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds coming into this country and by definition, changing it, diluting traditional Britishness, if you like. And here's a result of this kind of syndrome. 1 million people living in Britain now do not or cannot speak English. I mean,
to me, that is totally unacceptable. I think it might be acceptable to be in a country and not speak the language if you had no expectations of anything from that country in return. But the vast majority of those people who do not speak a word of English will be living off the state in some way. They just will be. They will be in state-supported housing. They will be taking NHS care. I mean, they just are. So how is that okay? You know, these people are passengers in our country when what we actually need is people who are helping drive the country forward, and they're just flopping around in the back of the car, not even looking out the window and asking for some sandwiches. That's how it is.
Yeah, and don't forget, when you talk about these people, these are residents of Britain, illegal residents of Britain, who've been allowed in on this ludicrous system where we are let in 1,850,000 a year. Every time they go to the NHS or they go for their benefits payments, we will also be paying, taxpayers will be paying for their translators.
That has to stop. That absolutely has to stop. And, you know, a popular policy for a political party would be to scrap that on day one of a new government. That is the kind of thing that Trump would do. It's the kind of thing that I think a UK political party would do. Day one, you just end all these translation services. Sorry, but if you're looking for free healthcare, then either use Google Translate or bring someone with you who can explain what it is that's up with you. You cannot expect the British taxpayer to pay for translation services. And frankly, the same goes for the courts as well, except in very, very rare cases. We should not be providing very, very extensive translation services for all the illegal migrants that find themselves in trouble because they've broken our laws.
Yes, and by the way, just to prove my point, the Department of Work and Pensions over the past 5 years has spent £27 million on translators. The NHS, I know, spends millions every single year. So these are people living here, they're residents of Britain. Some of them may even be, well, they probably wouldn't quite manage to be citizens because you do have to pass certain tests to get that classification to be a citizen, but these are legal residents, many of whom have been living here for years, who can't speak English. A million of them. This is, as I keep saying this today, but this is out of control. This government's doing nothing about it. Might be nice to hear a few more words from the leader of the opposition about this sort of thing, but don't you think?
Oh, I definitely think that she would be pushing against an open door if she started leaning into some of this stuff. But instead, it's left to her very, very energetic rival, Robert Jenrick, who is very much on manoeuvres, along with, by the way, that other failed leadership candidate, James Cleverly. They're all on manoeuvres because they can see that Kemi Badenoch is not up to the job. I confidently predict that she will not be in that role this time next year, because she is demonstrably failing. She doesn't seem to be able to tap into the public mood at all. And at every opportunity, she seems to get it wrong.
Yeah, I think sort of Jenrick, and to a lesser extent Cleverly. I mean, I think every day around about 4 o'clock, you know, when you get these shocking revelations, like 1 million people can't speak British, can't speak English, 1,162 migrants have come across the channel since Saturday. I think they get to about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I think they go, can't believe she hasn't said anything about this. Right, yeah. I will then.
I think that's exactly what's going on there, yeah.
Yeah, so farewell then, Kemi, fairly soon, I would imagine. When we come back, let's talk about some NHS madness. You know, guys, people like me, I'm a guy, when you go to the NHS for an X-ray or anything like that, you have to tell them whether or not you're pregnant, and if you don't get treatment. So we've got a good story about that after these messages. Stay where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Now, we were just mentioning before the break, Isabel, that you won't know about this because you're not a bloke. But we guys, if we go for a X-ray, we have to the NHS, before they will X-ray us, we have to tell them whether or not we're pregnant in case the gamma rays, the X-rays, damage our unborn child, which is pretty unlikely if you're male. And yet, due to wokery, that nonsense persists. So I hereby salute a GP, a general practitioner, Dr. Stephen McAndrew, up in Scotland, who went to donate blood and was made to, or was required to sign a form confirming that he was not pregnant. He said, "I'm a doctor and I'm a male. Don't be so ridiculous." So he refused, and for that reason they declined to take his blood. So he was doing his civic duty as a doctor, and they would not take his blood because they said he had to reveal whether or not he was pregnant. Now, the good news about this, he said that he just thought it was time to make a stand. He said, "This is bonkers." And that, and I quote, he said, "I have a nagging feeling that it is political correctness gone too far, trying to placate the gender brigade." I think he's on the money there. But the good news about this is the Scottish National Blood Transfusion Service says that in the light of this, it will update the donor form to include this. If not applicable, please tick no. So a slight glimmer of common sense there. Meanwhile, down in Britain, though, I'm afraid down in England, Health Secretary Wes Streeting's war on woke doesn't seem to be working wonders. In the NHS down here, mothers are still referred to as birthing people. So little steps forward, small steps back. But here's to Dr. Stephen McAndrew, eh?
What a hero! Can we try and get him on?
Yeah, no, we're trust me, we are. We're trying to.
What a legend! You know, he sounds like somebody who hasn't really got involved in politics. You know, most doctors don't really want to get involved in politics; just want to help people get better. And it's great that he took a stand, and I think that's a victory. You know, it's not a total victory because one would like to see the question not asked at all of anyone who's obviously male. But at least now people have the option not to have a row with whatever poor nurse or radiologist they are interacting with. I mean, I can't believe that people are asked it, but, you know...
They are. I mean, you know, our friend and colleague James Whale, who sadly, you know, has been battling cancer courageously now for about 5 years. Good for him. And he's still going strong, by the way. But obviously he has to go to the hospital a great deal and requires regular x-rays. And every single time, and he said it's become like a joke, but they do have to say, "Mr. Whale, are you pregnant?"
I mean, how old is James Whale?
70-ish or something like that, 72, 70.
Come on, you know, I mean, there is no way on the planet a woman could be pregnant at 70. So what are they doing?
Yeah, that's right. So I didn't think of that. I mean, it's ridiculous on two counts in his case, isn't it? A, he's a little too old, a little bit past childbearing age, but also probably more pertinently, he's what's technically known as a man. Just ridiculous, isn't it? Why do I keep saying this, Isabel? You know, the Wes Streeting, he makes the right kind of noises, but like most health secretary, nothing ever seems to ever happen. But he's the one who about 2-3 weeks ago wrote in The Sun, "I'm declaring war on woke, that this is all silly and I'm going to stop it." So I said, all right, Wes, appreciate your sentiments, you're absolutely right. As a starting point, why don't you announce right now that from now on men will not be asked whether or not they're pregnant? That would be a good start. Response came there, none. And still this nonsense is going on, and still the NHS in England and Wales officially refers to pregnant women as birthing people.
I mean, you would have thought that any so-called man that was somehow pregnant, and they're obviously not a real man if that was the case, would have been through so much to be in that condition, given their natural situation, that they might have kind of thought to mention it if it needed to be mentioned at an x-ray. You know, it's not something that happens accidentally if you're a so-called man, is it? In the very rare cases where it's been made possible for so-called men, that has involved an awful lot of work, should I say.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be something that they might have just kind of forgotten about or didn't realize, in the way that some women genuinely don't realize they're pregnant and haven't thought about the possibility. That's not really realistic, is it, for a so-called man?
I think. Luckily, I don't need an X-ray, but I might go and give some blood. And if they ask me if I'm pregnant, I'd say yes.
Just see what happens.
See what happens. Listen, let's go to break. When we come back, we need to talk about Donald again. He's made this incredible congressional address, and he seems to be getting everything he wants out of Zelensky. So let's talk about that next.
Well, I opposed the Iraq War, but I think it's worthwhile pointing out that this country was pretty much the first country to come to the assistance of Uncle Sam when he declared his war on terror.
Yep.
And I remember serving in Iraq alongside a brave American serviceman. And I tell you this, I also remember lining the streets of Royal Wood and Bassett as those coffins with the Union flag on top came back with our boys inside. And I'm not going to take any lessons from the Vice President or the President or whoever you like.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Isabella Oakshott, Talk's excellent international editor. By the way, Isabel, just did a bit of sums during the mathematics being my strongest subject, not. The 1,168 migrants that came across the channel since Saturday, so 4 days worth, whatever it is, that's going to cost us, the taxpayer, over the next year. The people who've come over since Saturday alone are going to cost us £46.7 million over the next year. It's just, it's stunning.
That's just over a year, and I bet that doesn't take into account the full cost of all their legal appeals and endless, contortions to try to find a way to stay here. I mean, these are astonishing figures, and when you think about all the continual bleating from the Treasury about the constraints on the public finance and how we can't afford this and we can't afford that, And then you realise that, you know, this week alone, these last few days alone, have cost the public purse 46 million.
Yeah, since Saturday, it's just outrageous. It's real billions and billions of pounds every year on all of this.
Really, think about that, by the way, in terms of number of extra actual nurses we could have, or real things that make a real difference to people.
Yeah, but of course, the term "stop the boats" is too binary and too stark. Our politicians are pathetic. They're pathetic, and that's a former Prime Minister who may even be more pathetic than the one we've got now, although the jury's out. Right, let's talk Donald. Well, he gave this incredible 100-minute speech to Congress last night. Let's just play a clip. This is him. I love this. Him talking about government waste, you know, Elon Musk and Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, and some of the extravagances that they've discovered.
$40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million.
It's amazing, isn't it? Let's just play one more clip. This is him talking about common sense.
Past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
He is doing the job, isn't he, Isabel? And also, he's done the job, or he's a long way towards doing the job on Ukraine. I just think we should encourage the president and his deputy, his vice president, J.D. Vance, in their aggressive pursuit of peace, because by and large I would say hundreds of thousands of young men dying in godforsaken fields in the east is not a good thing. A better thing would be if they weren't dying. So pursuing peace in Ukraine, I don't know why he gets condemned for it, why all these EU leaders say, well, we've got to carry on. They are, of course, the same leaders who told us that we'll have to lock down forever to beat COVID. So I don't trust these people at all. Now, in that long speech, he also revealed, the president, he revealed that Zelensky, you know, following that incredible bust-up in the White House last Friday, has now written to him, basically saying, sorry, you can have your mineral deal on whatever terms you want, and yes, can we get round the table? Can we pursue peace? So, you know, while Europeans have got their knickers in a twist, oh, it's just, they bullied him, and they weren't very nice, and they were rude, and well, here we are, 5 days later, is it? And President Trump is getting everything that he wanted, and what I think is that what he wants is a good thing. Hey ho, good for Trump.
Well, I listened to much of that speech and Trump rattling off his list of achievements, and it actually sounded like the kind of list that most leaders would dream of being able to recite after they'd been in power for a decade. The guy's only been in power for a matter of weeks, and look what's already been achieved. Quite remarkable. Of course, I didn't like watching that spectacle in the Oval Office. Of course, it was uncomfortable. I don't think it should have been done in that way. But what matters is outcomes. And, you know, President Zelensky is having to suck up an awful lot that he doesn't want to, because quite simply, he on his own, and not even with just the British and maybe French support, cannot hope to win this war against Russia. So at some point, realpolitik has to come in, and that's where we're at now. And whilst it hasn't been at all pretty, as you say, not people dying is better than people dying.
Absolutely. So good for Trump. He is achieving great things, I think. And one of the things he's achieved, to come back to, so that conversation can come rather nicely full circle, is did you know the southern border over which during Joe Biden's tenure something like they think possibly 10 million illegal migrants got into America while Biden was in power for over 4 years. Do you know that Trump has succeeded in stopping 98% of all migrants smuggling into America? So at a stroke, he solved their migrant crisis. It makes you think maybe, if we had a Trump, it could be solved here.
Of course it could be. As he put it, they heard what I had to say and they decided not to come. This is the point about either stopping the boats or your proposed policy of detain and deport. You actually don't have to do it very many times before people get the message. Very soon, when you broadcast the fact that this is what you're doing, you mean it. There won't be any fanning around with appeals and endless more appeals and appeals on appeals. We're not paying for any of that stuff. You come here illegally, you're going home. Once you start doing that, the problem basically dries up. Maybe they find new ways to sneak in. At that point, you tackle those new ways, and that's the end of the story. The Australians have done it very successfully. Yeah. And my God, if Trump can do it along America's borders, then I pretty much think we, as a little island, ought to be able to achieve something similar.
Yeah, just send a load of troops down and stop them coming. And our system, as I said earlier, should be detain and deport, which is what Australia did. And what have we got? So you've got Trump. Let's send a load of troops down. By the way, we'll build a wall, but in the meantime, we'll just stop them coming. 98%. And what have we got? Former Prime Minister saying, stop the boats as too binary and too stark. It is beyond pathetic, beyond pathetic. Right, we're going to play a last clip. This is because I think it's funny when Trump calls Congress Lady Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, he calls her. So let's have a listen to this.
With no end in sight, the United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense. With no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
It's true, though, isn't it? I mean, all these lefties, these EU leaders, Keir Starmer, Pocahontas, the Democrats, they go, oh, yeah, the war's got to carry on, the war's got to carry on. Really weird that the Liberals and the left, they want continued war, the continued destruction of human life in the East, and you've got right-wing Donald Trump wanted to stop. I'm on his side, aren't you?
Well, I'm definitely on the side of less people dying, and however that's achieved, hopefully it doesn't involve ludicrous levels of capitulation.
I don't think it will. I've got to stop you now, Isabel, because I've got to go to break, but I don't think it will. Great to talk to you. We'll talk again tomorrow. That's the brilliant Isabel Oakeshott. We'll be back in a minute with a terrible story from Newcastle Football Club.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum. In a little while, we're going to be talking about the jet-setting Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hoyle, who yesterday we talked about how he's racked up £250,000 worth of luxury global travel in just 2 years, staying at flash hotels, 900 quid a night, thousands and thousands of pounds on chauffeur-driven limousines. He even hired a private jet when he went to Montserrat in the Caribbean. This is all on the taxpayer. We're paying for this. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. This is what we're sick of. We're sick of these people taking our tax money and then living high on the hog off of it. You know, we know what this is all about. Don't tell me this is useful for the country. You know, maybe 1 or 2 trips abroad in the year, but this guy's constantly on the move. Anyway, we now find out that on one of his trips, he spent £23,643 going to South Africa and the island of St Helena. And 21,300 of that was on first class and business class flights, but he charged us £500 to take an extra suitcase. This is outrageous. I've also got some more details on what David Lammy has been splashing our money on. He literally, you'll be shocked by this, he literally is a champagne socialist, charging us at one point £2,400 for luxury Cristal champagne glasses. He's Labour, unbelievable. We'll do that in just a little while. Taking your calls in half an hour. You know the number, 03444991000. But before we get to any of this, this is a very, very alarming story, one that we've covered before. It is the story of a football fan, Lindsay Smith, a devoted Newcastle fan. Don't know why, but she likes Newcastle. No, seriously, she's a big Newcastle fan, been going there all her life, season ticket holder, all that. She gets investigated by the police, Northumbria police, because she posted gender-critical tweets. She doesn't believe that people can change their biology, their sex, and she's right in that, of course. For some reason, that becomes classified as some kind of hate crime. There was a complaint against her from someone at Newcastle Football Club. The police got involved. They interrogated her. And she's going, what have I done wrong? Anyway, at long last, Northumbria police have apologised, saying they should never have done that. Quite right, cops. Why did you do it in the first place? But, outrageously, she remains banned from Newcastle Football Club. And by the way, while we're on that topic, at one point, Newcastle Football Club, while investigating whether or not they should ban Lindsay, they put her under surveillance. They took pictures of her taking a dog for a walk. You know, Keir Starmer goes over to Washington and tells Donald Trump and JD Vance we've got freedom of speech in this country. I don't think so. Well, she's been on the show before. I'm really pleased to have her back. Welcome back to the show. Lindsay, hello.
Hiya, Kevin. It's nice to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm glad you finally got justice from Northumbria Police. Outrageous the way they treated you. But have you got any explanation from Newcastle Football Club, your club, as to why you're still banned?
No, I haven't heard anything from them. My lawyers, when we did receive the report back, I sent it, obviously, because the report was all done by Harry Miller of Faircott. He made the complaint, and when I got the report back, I then forwarded that onto the Free Speech Union and my lawyers, Levin Solicitors, who are dealing with the discrimination claim against the football club. And no, I haven't heard anything. They've actually sent them a letter, you know, basically saying that they've apologised, no crime had been committed, you know, it should never have happened. Yeah. There was multiple failings, 14 police officers in total were all involved in inventing this apparent crime that I'd committed. 14
cops.
Yeah, 14, ranging from PC level all the way up to CID. So it was pretty bizarre.
And at one point, Lindsay, you were hauled into the police station and interrogated for a fairly long time and warned that if you tried to leave, to walk out, you would be under arrest. How long did they interrogate you for this terrible crime of yours?
I think I was probably in there about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I mean, if you count how long it took, obviously sitting there waiting, my solicitors talking to the police and everything, I'd probably say about 45 minutes I was in the police station for altogether.
Well, let's talk about your terrible crime, and I'm saying that facetiously, of course. What did you tweeted? You believe, and so do I, by the way, and so does any sensible person, you don't believe that people can change their biological sex. You tweeted something along those lines, didn't you? What
Yes.
exactly did you tweet to apparently enrage some fellow Newcastle fan who said that in view of your tweets, it would not be safe for trans fans to sit next to you? This is like something out of a kind of science fiction film, but what did you actually tweet?
So I tweeted things like, just your daily reminder, trans women are men.
Correct.
They also complained about the fact I had hashtag LGB in my bio, which they said was a trans exclusionary radical group. I tweeted things about disagreeing with men and women's sports, about the transitioning of children, and you know, all of which I was questioned over. So yeah.
But these are because you're gay, right? So you put LBG, but not the T. So that seemed to incur the wrath of the authorities. Yeah.
Yeah, I was questioned over the fact that I had LGB and no TQ in there. If I had a lawful reason. I know.
Sorry, I mean, if I didn't laugh, I'd cry. So,
Yeah.
so you should have had TQ on. That's unbelievable. Yeah. And did the police talk to you about this? This egregious omission from your acronym I keep getting it right, LBG. Did they say, why didn't you put T and Q on the end?
Yeah, it was more like the line of questioning, because he was reading off of a sheet. So it was like, do you have a lawful reason for posting this? Do you think it could cause shock, alarm, or distress to anybody? You know, that was the line of questioning around all of it. So it's going to cause alarm and distress, because I don't associate with identity politics, really.
Yeah, and your beliefs, and by the way, I share your beliefs. I think any sensible person would. This isn't anti-trans to say you can't change your biological sex. That is a scientific fact. They were maintaining that your perfectly valid and correct opinions were somehow illegal.
Yeah, it was what I was questioned for was malicious communications. So, you know, I was pulled in for a hate crime. But the thing is, and what the police force have been forced to admit is that it shouldn't have even gotten to that point, because there was no victim in there. So they didn't like what I was saying, but for malicious communications to be that, there needs to be a victim. And the whole complaint was made by someone who isn't even trans. They are a vehement activist in that area.
Right.
But it was basically, the complaint was made by this person saying, you know, someone could be upset and offended by this. So on that basis, they decided to just log it as malicious communications and haul me in for a hate crime.
So at least late in life, Northumbria police have seen the error of their ways and apologised to you. Now, presumably the same person who complained about your tweets to the police also complained to Newcastle Football Club. And as I recall, subsequent to that complaint, incredibly, astonishingly, Newcastle Football Club put you under surveillance.
Yeah, they ended up getting the Premier League involved. And the thing is that when I got my subject access request back, 'cause it's the only reason I found everything out, I got that back late November, because it takes 30 days. So it might have been early December I got it. And I was astonished to find they'd actually been investigating me since July, beginning of July. So they'd spent a good 3 months watching me and having the Premier League do what they called a target profile, which is usually used to deal with racism in the football ground and hooliganism and things like that. But they decided to bring the full force of the Premier League and their power onto me because I was tweeting opinions that weren't even aimed at anybody. So
but they put you under surveillance, didn't they? Watch you once when you were taking your dog for a walk or something.
They were going through like all of my social media and they were taking images of where I used to walk my dog and things like that. They had things in there like about how I have ties to Whitley Bay. It appears that I work down in Whitley Bay. They took images of the park where I walked my dog and took Google images and wrote the full address down. They put the address of the church that was behind my house. Just everything. It was quite shocking to see.
I think I might have said to the club or to the police, you know, this is Newcastle, not North Korea. I mean, that's what this sounds like, doesn't it? It's really sinister. So, I mean, you love Newcastle FC. It's been your club your whole life, as I said. I can't imagine why, but I'm a Fulham fan myself. But no, seriously, they're your club. Tell me how they informed you that you were banned.
So I got an email. I remember I was checking to see when the ballot would open for the Chelsea game, and I saw it open the next day. So I was thinking, right, great, I'm gonna get my name in the hat. Yeah, I'm gonna get my name in the hat. Hopefully, I'll get a ticket. And then there was just an email from the security complaints department saying my membership had been suspended. My account had all been suspended because I was under investigation for a hate crime with Northumbria Police. That was the first I heard of anything, even so much as being under investigation, which I found quite baffling because I would have thought for a crime so serious, at least I would have known before a football club, but apparently not. So
as we said, the Northumbria Police, I mean, good for them. Finally, they've realised that this was all terribly, terribly wrong. Have you been subsequent to the police apologising? Have you been back to Newcastle FC to say, look, you know, can I have my season ticket back, or what's happening there?
So my lawyers have written to them because the Newcastle's defence this whole time has been that I've been banned because I had committed a crime. The only reason I wasn't charged is because I gave a no-comment interview, which that's
not legally correct. That's not legally correct. You cannot be classified as having committed a crime until you're convicted of it, because that's another issue. I mean, I personally, I hate crimes. I don't think we should even have them, but that's just a debating point. But in order for you to be to have committed a hate crime, you've got to be convicted of it. They can't take a view on whether or not they think you probably did it. That's not legal.
Well, they seem to think it is. So that's a big portion of what they're basing the defence on. And my lawyers have just sent them a nice little email basically saying to them, you know, here's the evidence. The police have actually said it was unnecessary. She shouldn't have even been crimed, let alone having me hauled in the way that I was. So I think it's just a bit of a waiting game, really. They're probably mulling it all over now since everything broke on Saturday. So I eagerly await to see if we do hear from them, if they reach out in any way, shape or form and try and resolve this amicably, which is what I've tried to do from the get-go.
It must be quite upsetting. You've been a lifelong Newcastle fan, I assume. It must be quite upsetting for you, your club. You know, because I know about this stuff. You know, I'm a Fulham fan, so it's a life of misery. But you form a kind of emotion. Yeah, you're all right. You got Newcastle. You should try my club. But seriously, you know, you form an emotional bond with your club. It's sort of part of your life. It must be disappointing for you for your club to be treating you like this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people always ask me, like, how has it affected you? And, you know, I think I'd be lying if I said that everything was still normal, because it really isn't. Like, I still do everything in my power. I support the team. I watch them every time they play, and I'll always back them, even in the worst moments, in the moments where we play a bit naff like we did the other day. But, you know, when it comes down to it, I think I've just had to work really hard to separate it. Like, this is down to individuals and activists working within the ground. And that's what I'm trying to focus my attention on is dealing with these individuals that have taken it upon themselves to do this to me, as opposed to taking it out on the whole club. But there is something broken there. I used to be an absolute fanatic. I would sit and listen to every press conference, every video that was out, just everything, even the training videos. And now, I will occasionally, but there's not the same pleasure and joy that there used to be. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say
that have taken it.
The only thing I'd say to you, Lindsay, is if I wouldn't blame the whole club. There's some Jobsworth in there who clearly have gone too far here. And by the way, that thing you said about we assume that you are guilty of this crime because you did no comment replies. Well, that's what lawyers tell their clients to do, don't they? When you sit down with the cops, lawyers generally say just say no comment. So, but if you say no comment, and the club said, well, that means you're guilty. That's not legally correct. So I think you will prevail. I mean, your lawyers must be confident that you will get your membership back fairly soon, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we've caught them in the club themselves, like in quite a few lies, if I'm honest with you, throughout. And this police report I've had back just reveals so much more about the way the police and the club actually conspired together to actually do this to me, to the point where there was a PC, a police officer, that saw all the evidence, I suppose, against me, and they knew and they'd seen all of that before a crime had even been logged in any sense. So, there was collusion in there. So, I think I'll only get the full picture once I get full disclosure, which should be due soon, because the case has been assigned to the multi-track course now. We're hoping to get it down like sometime later down the road this year to actually get it into court. So yeah, it's just it's a waiting game, and I'm hoping the club will see sense, but I have been hoping that since this started, and it's not happened yet. So.
Well, I just can't believe that they won't in the end. And, here's to you for fighting your corner, because this is a terrible injustice. I don't think we should have hate crimes at all, but even if we did, you're not guilty of a hate crime. It's not a hate crime to state scientific facts on Twitter. So listen, we will keep in touch, Lindsay, and well done so far, and I'm sure you're going to prevail. Really good to talk to you. All the best. Lindsay Smith there, banned by Newcastle FC. Unbelievable story. That's what I mean. That is that is where Keir Starmer is entirely wrong. Do you remember when he went over to Washington last Thursday? Wasn't it? Oh, no, we have freedom of speech. Oh, we've always had freedom of speech. Yes, we have freedom of speech. Ask Lindsay Smith whether or not we've got freedom of speech. That's where we don't have freedom of speech. These hate crimes, they deprive us so often of our freedom of speech and freedom of expression. We've got to be careful here, and Lindsay's case reminds us that we have to be very careful. Next up, we're going to be talking about Lindsay Hoyle and his jet-setting jaunts across the planet at our expense, taxpayers' expense. That next, stay tuned.
Peter, what is your reaction to these two scumbags going to prison for about 2 decades each?
Not long enough. Their offending is of the most serious type, where young women our children are abused and therefore carry a burden for the rest of their lives, which very often simply does not go away and can prevent people from moving on. What so many people would also like to see is those held accountable. The police officers that looked the other way, the council officials that didn't do their jobs.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In a minute, 10 minutes or so, your calls, 0344499 1000. 1,168 migrants have come across since Saturday. That's going to cost us about £47.5 million over the next year. And still they come, and still they come, and still the government does nothing about it. What do you think? 0344499 1000. Now, you might want to get on the phone about this because it's certainly got me annoyed, and I don't think I'm the only one. We did this story back in December, actually, that the Speaker of the House, you know, the guy who sits in that chair, you know, order, you know, that northerner, what's his name, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, for a Labour MP. Now, he's been jet-setting around the world at great expense, or our expense. He spent £250,000 in 2 years going on fact-finding trips or jaunts, holidays. No, not holidays, of course. Very important parliamentary business, I'm sure. Rubbish. £250,000 in 2 years. Taxpayers' money. He stays in the best hotels, racks up bills. When he went to Singapore, £25,000. When he went to Gibraltar, to nearly £40,000 when he went to Australia, and so on and so forth. When he went to Montserrat in the Caribbean, he hired a private jet. Ottawa, 24,000, and so on and so forth. Right up until December, he was off to Gibraltar again. What does he keep going to Gibraltar for? This was £4,000, and just before that, in November, just last year, £20,000 racked up in Brazil. Doesn't ever go to sort of places like Belgium or Siberia, does he? Always seem to be nice places. But he always flies first class or business class, stays in hotels costing as much as £900 a night. And today we discovered that when he was on his way for a jaunt to South Africa and the island of St Helena, a trip that he spent £23,642.59 on, he charged us, the taxpayers, 500 quid for an extra suitcase. I mean, we've had enough of this stuff, haven't we? Let's talk to social and political commentator James Melville. James, do you share my fury over this waste of taxpayers' money? Because that's what it is.
No, it's complete self-entitlement, trying to live a billionaire lifestyle. I mean, this expenses thing has been going on for quite some time, and I think it's about time we focused on all the other MPs as well, but this is particularly bad at a time where the cost of living crisis is ongoing. You know, rail prices are going up, water bills are going up, energy bills are going up, taxes are going up, council taxes are going up. A lot of these bills that are going up are broken promises from the Labour government saying they were going to freeze various things like energy bills and council tax. And here we are. We have the Speaker who can't even get a vote in the House of Commons, going around on, in inverted commas, fact-finding missions to do his bit for the country on our taxes. It's absolutely outrageous. And it's about time, I think, you know, other MPs were scrutinised in the same sort of. But this is particularly bad because there's this sort of air of entitlement of our public servants, our dear old MPs, who are trying to do the right thing, to keep us safe and do the best by us. But meanwhile, they're always jet-setting around the world. Quite often in glamorous locations, on private jets. You know, some of them are going off on COP on motorcades, but they're telling us plebs, you know, how to live, you know, mind net zero and the rest of it. And yet, at a time where we've now had a cost of living crisis going on for about 4 or 5 years, where some people are struggling to make the choice between heat or eat, and our pensioners are losing their winter fuel allowance by the Labour government. We have our Speaker living a lifestyle that looks like something out of an episode of Billions. It's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, and I can't believe he went. When we did this story in December, we got this kind of bitter, furious letter from his office saying, "Hey, these are not jollies, these are not jaunts. You clearly do not understand the role of the Speaker." I'll tell you what I understand is he shouldn't be spending £250,000 of our taxpayers' money in just 2 years on first-class flights, business-class flights, 900 quid a night hotels, hiring chauffeurs. He spent like 4,000 quid in LA hiring chauffeur-driven limousines. Same in Australia. Went to the Cayman Islands in July and August. Stayed at the very grand Westin Grand Cayman 7-mile beach resort and spa hotel. Got a spa, that's good. 22,785 quid he spent on that jaunt. What's he doing in the Cayman Islands? What can we possibly learn from the Cayman Islands? And so on and so forth. We know what's going on here. Check this out, James. Right, David Lammy, the Socialist Foreign Secretary, by the way, in the first 3 months of the Labour government, this guy spent £851,000 on private jet flights. 3 months, 851 grand, private jets. Good for the environment, that. Now, he is in charge of the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. For example, in the first 3 months when David Lammy took this job, the FCDO, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, spent £2,400 on Columbia crystal glasses. A set of 4 wine glasses costs £500. Also, overall departmental spending between July and October for the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, their expenses on restaurants and bars were, this is what they added up to, £521,527.42. More than £500,000 in 3 months on restaurants and bars. This is a scandal.
It is, and it's time to go further with this. I think Britain now needs American equivalent of Doge. It's a British equivalent, where basically we unearth all the wastage within the public sector, but we start at the top with our politicians, our members of Parliament, whether it's in the House of Commons or the House of Lords. You know, we've had the expenses scandal, but the problem has not gone away. Even our dear leader, Keir Starmer, Mr. Freebies himself, you know, not exactly got a good track record himself, but there should be a root and branch about all of this stuff, because ultimately it's our money. At a time, our taxes are going up and our cost of living is going up on our essentials. We've been facing this financial crisis, household and business financial crisis, for quite some time. And then we have a Labour government who seems to punish various communities, in particular things like small businesses, students, council tax holders, energy bill payers, because they're breaking their pledges on this as well, and farmers. So many communities have been punished over the last few years. And so this is compounded by a Labour government who said they were going to clean up the mess in politics as well, be more transparent, be more accountable, and effectively do their own version of, to paraphrase something else, drain the swamp, and they're not doing it. Our MPs are not just public servants in terms of coming up with the right policies. They should be leading by example at a time when people are really struggling financially. And to have the Speaker strutting around the world on private jets, first-class travel, 5-star hotels, and you're right to point out, funny enough, it's always in glamorous locations, like James Bond-based locations, like the Cayman Isles or South Africa or Brazil. And yet there's this moral justification for their MPs that somehow they're entitled to it. Because it's for the greater good. It's for our own best interests. It's absolute nonsense.
What we're supposed to do, and by the way, apart from the $851,000 that David Lammy spent on private jets in the first 3 months of this Labour government, the Labour cabinet generally spent more than £2 million, £2,085,000 £8,547 pounds on private jets, over £2 million, 851 of which was 851,000 of which was David Lammy. That works out at £160,000 a week, 160,427 to be precise. Now, what I'm saying is that they'll turn round to us and they'll say, oh, well, this is important government work. This is no. We are sick of this. We know what you're doing. You're taking our tax money and you are living high on the hog on the back of this. Now, I'm not saying that the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, has to, occasionally doesn't warrant a trip abroad to see how the Houses of Parliament in the Cayman Islands work or something, but all the time, 250 grand in 2 years? I mean, excuse my language, but that is taking the piss. Simple as that.
It is. It's completely unacceptable, but this has been going on for years and years and years, and they never get to the bottom of it. They give themselves pay rises, and they're quite happy to vote all that through, and then there's various reviews about expenses, but nothing ever really changes. So you combine a number of things. There's the salary, but then there's the expenses. Then there's all the freebies aspects of it as well. And then there's the donations. Then there's things like second jobs as well. There's so many aspects whereby it is unacceptable behaviour by our MPs to behave in this way as public servants. We're paying their money at a difficult time. At some point, there needs to be a proper root and branch review whereby this swamp is drained from this. We end up having MPs who are doing what they're supposed to do, serve us. I'm not saying they should all be living like some sort of Dickensian lifestyle, but there needs to be full accountability to the point, as you said, they are not taking the piss on taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. I just got this image of Sir Lindsay Hoyle at the airport, no doubt with his... it won't just be him, but he'll be with flunkies as well, so we're paying for all of that. Them saying, oh, it's an extra suitcase, that's £500. No problem at all, no problem, because it's not his money, it's our money. Just to reiterate, this was a 9-day trip to South Africa and the island of St Helena. That jaunt cost £23,643. That encompassed £21,300 on first-class flights and business-class flights. He even goes first and business on short hauls to places like Dublin. It's just got to stop. I mean, we're on to them. This has got to stop. James, I'm going to have to go now, but really good to have you back on the show. Come back on soon. Always a pleasure. James Melville, social and political commentator. He is right. We're angry. You should be angry. Are you angry? Come on. Come on. The Speaker, he sits in a chair and shouts order. Why does he have to go around the world time and time again? Luxury flights, luxury hotels, £250,000 in 2 years. Do me a favour. 0344499 1000. Your call's next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We'll go to the phones in just a second. A couple of messages. I've got lots and lots of messages. Thanks for sending them, by the way. I always appreciate it. This is from Sue Healy in West Sussex. She says, that disgusting story about Newcastle FC makes me ashamed to be English. It's like living in a communist state, not a democracy. She goes on to say, please keep up all the good work you do on Talk, because you won't see this story on the mainstream media. I think there has been some coverage of it, Sue, but possibly not quite so dramatic as my coverage, because I include fury, fire and fury, and I'm furious about that. And don't you go to Washington, Starmer, and tell President Trump, oh, we got freedom of speech. Ask Lindsay Smith, and there are loads of cases like Lindsay Smith where hate crime laws are used to suppress our freedom of speech, to suppress our freedom of expression. All those coppers knocking on people's doors and saying, we need to talk to you about some tweets you sent 6 months ago. No, you don't, because it's not against the law. Get off our backs and let us say what we want to do. That's called freedom of speech. And stop pretending, Starmer, that we have freedom of speech when your lot, are busy suppressing it, especially that Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, who seems to really hate freedom of speech. One more message. This Lindsay Hoyle debacle. That's the Speaker. Does the £250,000 worth of flight jollies include his staff, or is there additional cost for his followers? He will have gone with flunkies, I'm assuming, maybe one, maybe two. I don't know. I don't know is the answer. That's from Kev, by the way. I don't know, Kev, but I suspect it does. That's the full cost of the trip. But nevertheless, doesn't make it any cheaper, does it? I mean, why? Why is he constantly going abroad? He's the Speaker. What's he supposed to be finding out? What other speakers do? Telling other speakers what he does? I mean, what's the point of us spending money on that? Do it on your holidays. Pay for yourself if you want to go around talking about being Speaker. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Debbie in Essex. Hello, Debbie.
Hi there, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. You want to talk about immigration?
I do. Watching you in Isabella tonight, it's not occurred to me before, but the boats that we send out to collect these immigrants that are coming into our country illegally, these are boats that are paid for by the taxpayer.
Do you mean like the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, the RNLI boats? Yeah, that's a good point.
This is paid for by
That's a very good point, yeah. Yeah.
So we are actually paying for them to be brought into the country anyway. It just seems beyond. I don't know how I've not thought of it before. It was just watching tonight.
It's a good point. Now, I personally, I don't approve of RNLI lifeboats effectively being used as taxis, water taxis, to bring these migrants into. The Border Force do this as well with their vessels. I mean, I don't approve of the RNLI doing that, but I wouldn't blame the lifeboat men themselves. They're just.
I'm not blaming them.
Yeah, they're just obeying orders. If you say these guys are heroes and they do it for nothing. So this isn't. We're not coming down on them. But
no, we're not coming down.
But you're
on
right.
Them.
You're right, Debbie. You're right.
Taxpayers' money that is paying for that service to bring those immigrants into our country.
Absolutely, you're so right that we give, people give money to the RNLI. It's a charity, and you're right. So our money, if you donate to the RNLI, indirectly ends up being used to ferry illegal migrants into Britain.
Immigrants into our country.
Yeah, very good spot, Debbie. You're absolutely right. I think I might get into that one. We'll have a look at that. Thank you very much for the call. Very good call. Thank you. Call me again, Debbie in Essex. Let's go to London. We're in London, but let's go to London on the phone and talk to Greg. Hello, Greg.
Oh, good evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well.
Yeah, just a very quick one about men being asked if they're pregnant.
Yeah, go on.
Why are
Sorry.
you laughing? I haven't told you yet.
It just meant the whole concept makes me laugh. But sorry, carry on.
Sorry, no. Right, if you're not going to be serious, I'm not going to tell you.
All right.
Right.
Sorry. So
Right,
straight face.
I'm 77 years old. I like a beer.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a fair bit of hair, and I go to my local general hospital, Northwick Park, near Harrow, regularly for a checkup. And my consultant said, I think we'd like to have a look at your knee. I'll give you a note. Take it along to X-ray. So I went along to X-ray.
Yeah.
And got in the queue.
I know what's coming. Go on.
Yeah. And a very nice young lady. She went through the old name, confirm your name, date of birth, address, and all the rest of it. Blah blah blah. And she said to me, with her very best serious face on, she said, "Are you pregnant?" And I looked at her with my best serious face on, and I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said, but this is a general hospital, and I think I'm in the best place to find out. I said, do you think that someone could check me out to see if I'm pregnant?
What did they say?
She ticked no.
I
said, hang on a minute. I said, you ticked no, but you don't know. I said, because I don't know, and no one has told me that I'm not pregnant, so why have you ticked no? And she looked totally bemused and gave me a look that said something along the lines, listen, mate, I've had a busy day.
Yes.
I don't need a clever sod like you to come in and ruin it.
I'll tell you what, Greg, the thing is, I feel slightly sorry for these. I know of a few a lot of NHS staff are as annoyed about this as we are, but they have to do it, and they shouldn't have to do it. A friend of mine, because I'm always saying that, I haven't needed to have an X-ray for many years, thank God, but if I did, and they asked me if I was pregnant, I'd say, if they said, are you pregnant? I'd say, take a wild guess. Now, I kept saying that.
You don't know.
Well, a friend of mine did that. They said, "Are you pregnant?" And he said, "Take a wild guess." And they said, "You're going to have to answer that question." It's just crazy.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Absolutely ridiculous. I'd say, listen, if you're in that position, just say you don't know. But you'd like them to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. It deserves, this ludicrous system deserves to be abused by us to highlight the absurdity of it. Totally agree with you. Greg, thank you very much for an excellent call, and I wish you all the best with the birth of your baby. That's Greg in London, who isn't pregnant. He's not going to have a baby, obviously. Let's go to break, and when we come back, have you noticed this war on art that these Philistines in our Labour government, socialists are always, or so often, are Philistine about art. No one more so than the Chancellor, Robert Reeves, Rachel from Accounts. She's been tearing down pictures left, right and centre and replacing them with pictures of women or by women. You'll be horrified to hear of the latest victim of her artistic purge is Winston Churchill. Find out all about that after this break.
rely on Europe, particularly, for about 30% of our food. If something is to happen in Europe, whether or not we are involved, whether or not it is right, it's going to upset our food supply. And that is a risk that, as a citizen, I really don't want to see my government taking. So I think it's very important that we broaden the argument from beyond inheritance tax to the whole host of other issues that are facing farming at the moment, but most crucially, simply the food supply. This country needs food. It's part of our national infrastructure, and I am scared that the government is neglecting that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, after the news, so in about 10-15 minutes, I'm going to be joined by the brilliant TV critic for The Sun, Ali Ross. And we're going to go through, if you like, With Love Meghan Markle's new TV show on Netflix. I don't know about you, but I've spent most of the day working on some of her recipes, you know, chucking a load of pasta and tomatoes into one pot and then boiling it and then making a big jar of bath salts, Epsom bath salts, because I don't know if you know, but as Meghan told us, she's not known for being modest with the bath salts. So, yeah, it's been a very productive day. We'll talk about that TV disaster after the 9 o'clock news, because disaster is what it is. I mean, the reviews are terrible. Only came in at number 6 on Netflix overnight, should have been top. And it's just terrible. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible show. Find out why after the break. But first, still with art. No, it's actually, Meghan's show's not art. Now, Rachel from Accounts, Rachel Reeves, she of course lives in number 11 Downing Street, and a bit like her neighbour Keir Starmer, she doesn't really like art if it's a depiction of a Tory. Didn't Keir Starmer have an entire room redecorated because the wallpaper was blue or something? He had a picture of Margaret Thatcher taken down, didn't like her staring down at him. It's pathetic, isn't it? So Philistine as well. Well, old Rachel from Accounts, the chance is even worse. She's pledged to get rid of all the art in number 11 Downing Street unless it's of women or by women. Why? But that's her mission. Anyway, her latest crime, if you ask me, crime against art, is she's taken down a picture in the conference room, the meeting room, the very lovely oak-panelled dining room of number 11 Downing Street. It was overlooked by this rather excellent portrait of Winston Churchill when he was much younger, looking down, if you like, on the people in the meeting, in the dining experience or whatever. And she's replaced it with a woolen tapestry depicting an unknown woman. There it is. No more Winston Churchill. This is what now looks down on the conference room of number 11 Downing Street. I mean, that looks like a piece of frieze art, doesn't it? I mean, the sort of thing you get in a teenager's bedroom. I mean, come on. Let's talk to political commentator Sam Armstrong. Sam, what is it about these senior Labour politicians that they seem to have this war on art? I mean, particularly if they perceive that it might be, the pictures might be of a Tory or the wallpaper might be a Tory colour. But taking down a picture of our greatest war hero, one of the nation's great heroes, in a very important room, the conference room of number 11 Downing Street, and replacing it with that ridiculous woolen tapestry of an unknown woman, I mean, that's just beyond the pale, isn't it? What's going on here?
Yeah, look, on the one hand, it's silly, right? This lot of clowns have come into government, and instead of doing all the things that we might want to do if we were in government, sort out the economy, deal with the situation in Ukraine, stop the borders crisis and all the rest of it, they've got straight onto the decorating, decided that their interior design class takes precedence over governing the country. So look, it is silly, but it's also really offensive, because Winston Churchill, just look at the list of people they've taken out. Winston Churchill, Admiral Nelson, Francis Drake, Gladstone, Mrs. Thatcher. These are national heroes, all people that have contributed enormous things to our country. But these people, I hate to say it, but they don't like our country. They don't like our history. They are offended by it. Perhaps as sort of comparative minnows looking up to the giants is too much, or perhaps it's that they don't like to be reminded day in, day out that there was a time where this country stood for something, where this country achieved great things, and where this country meant something to so many on the world stage. And instead, they would rather pretend and be looked down upon by some anonymous, woke, childlike art pieces.
It's exactly right, Sam. It is an attack on British tradition, if nothing else. Do you remember that? I seem to remember when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, there was this massive row on him spending, I think, if I remember rightly, £29,000 on wallpaper, which did seem quite a lot, I must admit. Keir Starmer, so far, has spent £80,000 redecorating number 10 Downing Street, and this redecoration includes, as I say, the removal of a blue colour scheme in one room because he doesn't like Tory colours. He's taken down a portrait of Margaret Thatcher. He's taken down a portrait of Elizabeth I, and he's also taken down a portrait of William Shakespeare. This really is, I think, it's an attack on British culture. As you say, they don't like British tradition. They don't like our past. They don't like our country.
No, but I mean, the remarkable thing is, he's got rid of this blue, which is just, I mean, such a child, honestly.
Yes.
Our wallpaper is blue, we're the other party, so we're going to get that changed out. What is he going to do next? He's going to get the Union flag. He's going to take the blue out of that. We're going to change the colour scheme for Scotland now because there's now a Labour Party. Like, come off it. But look, it's not all Tories that dislike. Who have they put up posters of? Who have they put up portraits of? Well, on the one hand, you've got this ridiculous, stupid piece of Yvette Cooper. Quite why we need a picture of her up, I don't know. But the only Tory they have put up is Theresa May. Now, if I was trying to come up with a list of ineffectual prime ministers that never got very much done over the past 3 centuries of British history, she'd be right at the top of that list. This is someone that came in after Brexit, promised that Brexit meant Brexit, and then spent the next 3 years dithering, delaying, entertaining a bunch of Euromaniac losers as they tried to reverse the result of the referendum. And she is the hero. She's the one woman that they can actually come up with a picture of to put up there. And of course, having run out of women that they do approve of, they've now had to resort to picking an unidentifiable woman and putting her up on instead. They've simply run out of woke pieces to put up. Now they're just having to write to the local children's school and say, can you draw us one and stick that up on the wall instead, please?
Yeah, I think that you're right about Theresa May. I think she's probably Keir Starmer's spiritual hero. She too knew how to get nothing done on an epic scale. What's your assessment, moving on from this artistic travesty, what's your assessment of the government's performance so far?
Well, this is hard to come up with a government that has gone in on such a wave, right? These guys had the majority that every prime minister would dream of. He could get literally anything done. He has the power to ram it through. And what has he achieved? Nothing. The grand total of nothing. This is a guy who will go down in history as the chief achievement being taking the winter fuel payment away from desperate pensioners during a really, really cold winter. According to his own estimates, people literally died as a result of that. And in the time since, he has dithered, delayed, as he's listened to his lawyers, that his mates that he put into the government, who then in turn have told him he can't do this, he can't do that, and absolutely nothing has happened since. Is it any wonder that he has the worst poll ratings of any elected prime minister in history? Full stop.
That's true. Listen, we're going to put up, totally with you, Sam, it's been an absolute catastrophe. I mean, none of us expected Starmer's government to be any good, but did we expect it to be this bad? Absolutely not. It really is a travesty. But let's just flash up that picture again, the woolen tapestry because a lot of our, or they're saying it looks exactly like Rachel Reeves. That could be it. So it's a self-knitted portrait. Perhaps Rachel knitted it herself. Perhaps she's just as good a knitter as she is a chess player.
Yeah, but it's green. It's got this kind of slightly troglodyte, troll-like features to it. It makes you wonder. Sort of, it looks a bit like Fiona from Shrek, really. I'm not saying that Rachel Reeves looks like that, but
well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's it. Sam, I've got to go. Great to have you back on the show again. Come back on again soon. That's Sam Armstrong, political commentator there. I mean, you know, art. I don't know much about art, but I know what I like, and I don't like that teenager freeze picture, knitted picture. I mean, if you're going to replace a portrait of Winston Churchill, does it have to be knitted? Why have you got to have a tapestry? Anyway, enough of that. In a little while, after the 9 o'clock news, I'll be joined by Ali Ross from The Sun, and we're going to analyse with Love Meghan, that disastrous show by the Duchess of Sussex. I look forward to that. I hope you do too.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
In 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so, your calls, 03444991000. You know what we're talking about. Now, before that, also, we've got some WhatsApp voice notes, no doubt. I'll read those out, or I'll play those out, and also I'll read some of your messages. So keep the messages coming in and get on the phone, because in 20 minutes or so, it's open to you. The floor is open, so it's good to talk on Talk, and it's good to talk to my next guest too. He is the Sun's brilliant TV critic, Ali Ross. Hi, Ali.
Evan, how are you?
I'm very, very well, mate. Now, I just thought that as a former TV critic, I would commune with you, a current TV critic. Britain's best, I'm going to put you in the position of. Now, with Love Meghan, now, I was going to ask you, we will get into this, I was going to ask you, so I thought that you and I might go through what's wrong with it.
How long have we got?
But exactly, so I think I might ask, my first question to you, for reasons of economy, is going to have to be, What's right with it? I don't think there's anything right with this programme.
She's got a nice swimming pool.
It's not hers, though. It's not hers.
Well, she has access to it, whoever it belongs to.
So she's got. So the good thing about this show is she's got access to a nice swimming pool in someone else's.
I would love to go in that swimming pool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, look, the reviews are in, and I watched this yesterday. Obviously,
the BBC described them as mixed, which suggests there's a good one out there somewhere, which I haven't seen.
No, I mean, I watched it. Obviously, I had to do a number of interviews and stories on it yesterday, so I got up early to watch it. And I'm not just saying this. I was stunned by how boring it was. It's one of the most boring programmes I've ever seen. I have no idea who it's aimed at. I presume, 64-year-old grannies, who've got guests coming to stay who love to have long baths with lots of bath salts in, and who have access to local beekeepers. I mean, who's this programme for?
I think all the people it's aimed at actually feature in it, which is her mates. And she's one of these people that goes on about, I've got loads of friends, and we've all met someone like this. I can think of one person right now who's always going on about, he's got lots of mates, he describes everyone as a mate. He's a famous person.
Yeah.
And he hasn't got a friend in the world. And she's very much one of those. And the body language between them, it's such a tense atmosphere in that kitchen of hers, which tells you everything you need to know about her, and that she is a controlling, passive-aggressive nightmare. And she picks up one of them for calling her Meghan Markle at one point, which is in fact her name.
And she goes. That's to that Mindy Carly, isn't the comedian? Apparently, she's in The Office or something. Anyway, so she goes, "Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this to Meghan Markle." And then Meghan goes, "It's so funny you should say that because that's not my name. It's Sussex."
You know, my name is Sussex.
Yeah. No, it's not. No, it's not.
The it could get any chillier. It just did. No need for air conditioning in that house of hers. It's really tense. And I don't know about you, but I've watched all 8 episodes, and I can tell you this: I have never seen so many vegetables chopped on one television show. It's relentless. Cucumbers, peppers, onions, something called arugula, which I've never heard of.
No, that's arugula. That's rocket. That's rocket.
Oh, okay.
That's what Americans call rocket. Arugula.
Arugula.
Now look, so there she's making a rainbow out of fruit. Now that's not easy, is it?
No.
Oh no! Wait a minute. It is easy. I just remembered.
5-year-olds at school could come up with that sort of shit. There's nothing she actually makes that you'd be too happy about eating.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not expecting her to be a sort of professional standard cook.
She's got her own cookery show, so why not?
Yeah, but exactly, which begs the question: why are you making a cookery show? But she's when the chefs always do their flashy. Well, she can't do that. I wouldn't expect her to be able to do that. But she's particularly bad at chopping.
But what? I think it's the Korean chef Ray Choi who says, "Hey, great knife work. That was awesome." No, she's just chopped up an onion. It's not great knife work.
Now, here's another thing. I think the programme's amateurishly shoved together. Now, I'm sure that, like me, you probably took a real liking to the star of episode 1, her paid-for friend.
Daniel.
Daniel. So the entire first episode revolves around her making bath salts and food for an employee. Someone who's on the payroll. But check this out, Ali. Have a look at this, because this is where I think that the editing wasn't that good. Because in a programme like this is a bad idea. Watch this.
What is this? This is so pretty. This is insane. I feel like this is all fake. It is not a backdrop. This is not a green screen. This
called Los Padres National Forest.
So, first of all, Daniel says, I can't believe this view, it's insane. Well, what is this view, he said? Well, it's the view not from Meghan's house. It's the view from someone else's house. She keeps saying, doesn't she, all the time, it's not my house, not my real house. Don't put that in the show. And then that bit where he goes, this all seems so fake. Again, a really bad idea to put that statement in this show, which exudes fakery.
Yeah, it's just a gift to TV critics. You think, well, thank you very much.
That's exactly what I thought when I thought, God, I wish I was still doing
the hard work for me.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of these shows, I think, where details will leak out over the next week or so about what really went on and who these people really are, whether they've actually met her before or just paid to get. How did they get there?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Exactly. Well, Daniel is on the payroll, so the whole of the first episode is her.
Daniel, weirdly, she builds him up for a great sleepover, and she prepares the room and tells you the best thing you can say to a host is, I've had a great sleep. Well, Meghan, I had a great sleep watching this. And then suddenly Daniel's uninvited for the night. So, yeah, well, you've got to go home now. What? I was staying.
But and she's made this enormous sort of tray of the bath salts that she actually tells us that she's not known for being modest with the bath salts, and then she's made some flowers and some popcorn and God knows what. It's like you've got your makeup artist staying for the night, not the Queen of Sheba. But here is, and by the way, as you say, he didn't stay for the night either. You've done your bit, get out of here. Here's that bit that you highlighted, Ali, the very awkward moment where Mindy Kaling made the mistake of calling Meghan Markle Meghan Markle. Check it out.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids, and you go, no, I share my name with my children.
Yes.
And that feels so... I didn't know how meaningful it would be to me, but it just means so much to go, this is our family name, our little family name.
Well, now I know, and I love it.
Actually, if she wants to know if she's taking her husband's name, her family name is Mountbatten Windsor. It's not Sussex. Sussex is a title. Yeah. As your paper pointed out yesterday, she's the Duchess of Sussex, and she spent a total of 6 hours in the county of Sussex.
She's such a grifter and a contradiction. She wants to keep it normal, but hang on, I'm a princess. She wants to be private, but would do anything to be in the limelight. I don't get her at all, and I can't understand why everyone doesn't see through her, because this is the grift of the century she's pulling off here. She got 100 million from Netflix to do a cookery show, and the extraordinary thing is she's an incredible tightwad as well.
Why is she a tightwad? Go on.
Well, it's episode 5. Her polo friend. Daphne, I don't forget her name. She's Argentinian. Comes out. I got a present for you, and the present turns out to be some homemade dog biscuits that she's baked half an hour before she turns up. And you can see the face of this woman is crushed when she hands them over.
Yeah, I think the only thing to say.
I could have done with a watch. But at least a book token.
Would it be be funny if she said, "I haven't got a dog"? Oh, well, you can eat them. But now you pointed this out to me, Ali. Here's another clip. Now we had to endure 10 minutes of Daniel, the employee, and the Duchess of Sussex making candles because they'd been out in the beehive with a guy, the beekeeper, by the way. He's one of my favourite people. They never even name-checked him. He looked like John Lennon, only with a really big nose. But we never found out who he was. But anyway, they got the honey out, and then the beeswax. And at one point, Daniel says, "I've never touched so much beeswax in my life." And I said to myself, "Hey, I can beat you there, Daniel. I've never touched any beeswax in my life." But for those of you who, like me and Ali, were worried about where we could get our hands on beeswax, here's Megan with the requisite information.
Touched beeswax like this before.
Can we just pour it in?
Yeah, let's pour it.
You can get wax from your local beekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's next to the bookies.
Yeah. Exactly. You could get beeswax. You can get wax from your local beekeeper. You know, I live in the middle of London, but you'll be astonished to know, Megan, I don't have a local beekeeper. Do you, Ali?
In Tower Hamlets?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? No.
We got
don't even have any bees.
Yeah. We got gangs. We got people with knives. People with guns. We don't have beekeepers. Thanks very much.
She's gone native very quickly. She basically is an ordinary girl from Los Angeles, but is suddenly talking about your local beekeeper.
Exactly. And on TikTok, interestingly, I mean, you know, it wasn't just the professional newspaper critics who were giving this program the pasting it deserves, because it is staggeringly, spectacularly tedious. That's the main takeaway I took. But young people on TikTok hating every second of it, and I don't blame them. You know, the average kid's going to go, what? Never mind bath salts, making bath salts for your guest room. They're going to go, what's a guest room? Who is this program aimed at? 65-year-olds?
I think natural justice would tell the youth that getting paid £100 million to make a show, fair enough, she's done another one on polo, which was even duller, that is basically a filler on This Morning. It's not even the main cookery slot. It's the bit they go to for 2 minutes that show how to knock up a frittata. It's just a world of wrong. And it's being delivered by this woman who clearly thinks she lives on Mount Olympus and looks down on the rest of us and will pick you up if you don't give her a correct title. It's outrageous.
It really is.
It's real Marie Antoinette stuff, as someone has said, I think.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, play a sort of last clip here. This is something I hadn't realised. I'll never make this mistake again, but apparently you have to use a particular kind of water in your ice cubes. Check this out.
Edible flowers. You could grow them in your windowsill or grow them in the garden. The one thing you need to know, though, when doing these, I've made this mistake. Do not just use tap water. There's a reason, and the reason is if you use distilled water, you're fine. If you boil the
What? Have you made that mistake while freezing edible flower petals into your ice cubes? Have you made the mistake of using tap water, Ali?
I'm afraid I have, every single time I've done it.
Well, you won't make that mistake again, will you? Here's another handy hint. I'm sure you picked up on this. We did learn exclusively from the Duchess of Sussex, that's her family name apparently, that Harry and Archie, her husband and her son, really like fried eggs, and she put soda water in them. Why would she do that, do you think?
Well, it's grounds for a divorce, which I think may be coming sometime down the line. Yeah. Then she put soda water in my eggs, and that was it. I was out of there.
Divorce granted.
He looks a picture of misery, that bloke.
I mean, this has come in, so the Netflix charts overnight, right? Now, a programme like, with all the pre-publicity, global publicity, even for a lousy programme, this should come in at #1. It's coming at #6 on the Netflix charts overnight, which I think is a worrying portent for the future. I mean, I just cannot see. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have tuned in out of novelty value for the first episode. I can't see them sticking with it. Can you? This to me has got flop written all over it.
Yeah, I think every single person who made it the 6th best watched show was probably writing a review for a national newspaper or local one. Interestingly, I had trouble finding it on the Netflix display page, and I think they knew it was a stinker long before it came out. They were hiding it away, and they're just hoping this whole chapter of their existence goes away before it does any more damage. Because the brand taint is out of control, I'd imagine.
It's exactly the same. I had the same thing because, you know, I needed to watch it for technical, professional reasons. And I had this moment of panic, just like you. It was about 8 o'clock yesterday.
Where is it?
Where is it? Where is it? And eventually you find it, but they're certainly not bannering it up.
No.
And by the way, there's a message above it. It said, "To the world, she is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. But at home, she is just Meghan." But she's not at home. She's at someone else's. She's at someone else's home. I mean, that's a fundamental mistake in itself. That kind of fakery just won't wash with the public.
No, she's chosen to admit to it, which I suppose was a relatively smart thing to do. But I imagine we'll be hearing a lot more about this show.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with one other thought and see what.
None of it in a good way.
No, absolutely not. I look forward to your review. Now, I'll leave you with this thought. I had her brother, Thomas Markle Jr., came on to my show yesterday to review it. And he agreed with us. He just said, "I can't believe how boring it is." But he said that he felt embarrassed for her. And I kind of get that. There's something, you know, excruciating about watching this woman who somehow thinks she's a terribly attractive, likeable person, has got some kind of global allure, and that this program is not dreadful. I mean, she's living in a fantasy world. This is a dreadful program that sort of kind of reminds us that she's not very likeable.
Yeah, she's surrounded herself, as you can see, by very agreeable creeps who laugh at everything she says, agree with her, tell her she's awesome, and she's got great knife work. Oh, wow, this Meghan. And so this isn't going to get any better.
Yeah.
So the level of delusion is going to continue. But very quickly, the rug is going to be pulled from under her feet professionally, because no TV company is going to go for this. She'd be lucky to get a slot on Celebrity MasterChef after this, and I'm not sure she'd make it through to the second round either.
Yeah. I mean, just lastly, the other odd thing about this is she's not. You can see she's not a particularly good cook. Knocking up recipes that, you know, they're the sort of things I used to make when I was a student, you know, chucking a load of things into the same pot kind of thing. So she's making kind of boring, mundane recipes not very well. I don't see that as a good format for a cooking show, do you?
It noticeably lifts in episode 3 when they actually get a professional chef in, the Korean guy, Ray Choi. Suddenly you're looking at something you'd like to eat. But then straight away, next episode, back again. No, I'll take care of this one.
Yeah.
Here's my frittata.
Yeah. Oh, God, not your frittata. My favourite is, and I'm going to use this from now on when my friends come round, I'm going to get a pot of yoghurt, pour it, or yogurt as they say in California, pour it into a bowl, put a few, chuck a couple of raspberries on top and say, "Here's my yogurt parfait." That's what she did. That's not yogurt parfait. That's yogurt with, I'm not saying yogurt, Kev, yogurt with a couple of raspberries on the top.
There's the other thing on this show. I have never heard anyone say the word crudité quite so much on television. I think I lost count at 37.
Well, I'll admit to you, Ali, I got rather too tired after about halfway through the second episode, but I think I'm going to check out the sheer quantity of vegetable chopping because that sounds like a very, very exciting prospect. So I'm going to get home tonight and watch the rest of that series, He Lied. Great talking to you, Ali, as always. Thanks a lot, mate. That's the Sun's brilliant TV critic, Ali Ross. Well, you know, I used to be one. He is one now. He's a brilliant TV critic, and we agree. I mean, it's just I'm not just saying it for effect. It's a terrible, terrible programme that is just spectacularly boring. Let me know what you think if you feel like calling up about that. Otherwise, call me up about all the other issues we've been talking about, particularly the migrant crisis. More than 1,100 migrants have come across the channel illegally since Saturday, 4 days worth. Also, Lindsay Hoyle spending £250,000 of taxpayers' money going round the world on official fact-finding missions. Really? Why do you always have to stay in such expensive hotels, fly first class? You know, this is taxpayers' money. What do you make of that? And story that Isabel Oakeshott and I talked about right at the top of the show, the fact that our new sentencing guidelines include the fact that minorities, ethnic groups, minority religious groups should get preferable treatment when it comes to sentencing. In other words, they get preferable treatment to British white citizens, you know, traditional British people. That is a two-tier justice, folks, isn't it? Also, going back to the migrant crisis, 1 million people who live here now can't speak English. Britain is changing. What do you think about that? 03444991000. Your calls, your messages, your WhatsApp voice notes next.
Pockets of our country and many pockets of the country in which the vast majority of the population have arrived in the UK within the last 10 years and are nonetheless occupying great chunks of the social housing allocation and also don't speak English. I mean, this is absolutely ludicrous. Multiculturalism only works if there are clear rules and expectations.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Paul from Hertfordshire has been in touch, and you've got a feel for him. He says, "Hi Kev, I now realise why I've been slightly disappointed with my evening rum and coke. The ice was made of tap water. Also, I didn't have chopped flowers grown on a windowsill and was frozen into my next door neighbour's fridge. He was shocked when I knocked on his front door at 10:35 p.m. demanding flower petal infused spring water ice cubes." I mean, nobody needs edible flower petals to be frozen into non-tap water ice cubes. I mean, this is the kind of niche market that Meghan is going for. Good luck with that, Meg, if I can put it that way. I'll read some more of your messages in a little while, but in the meantime, let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Herbie in Harrow. Hello, Herbie.
Good evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right, mate.
Right, Kevin, I hope that the MPs will go around at the next election they want to be elected and knock on the doors and say their constituents, thank you very much. Can I say thank you for making me and giving me the lifestyle that I've come accustomed to at your expense? And can you please vote for me again so I can carry on living a life of Riley, you know, which is what I need. Have you seen the size that David Lammy's become?
Not surprising. I think we're finding out why, Herbie.
God, dear.
Yeah, you remember that time when he went, before they were elected, him and Starmer went over to see Donald Trump in New York, and David Lammy revealed that they had chicken and chips or something, and Lammy revealed that he had second helpings, and everyone went, yeah, big surprise. Yeah, tell us something we don't know. But seriously, I think we might be coming to a crossroads with all of this, because we're watching what's happening in America. In America, with Elon Musk and DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, they are going through those government departments like a dose of salt and discovering, you know, disgusting extravagance, disgusting wastes of taxpayers' money, and it's going on here, and I think we should demand that they stop behaving like this. You know, I'm not against the Speaker or indeed MPs taking the odd foreign trip, fact-finding if you want, but £250,000 in 2 years, that's outrageous.
Well, Kevin, I've done it before and I'll be doing it again. I'm going to be doing a campaign about money hemorrhaging from my pocket yet again. And what I'm going to highlight, me and Jeremy will be making up a poster of exactly how much money has been wasted by this government. You will be shocked, because we took a new many years ago. We highlighted the amount of money that was wasted, which you and I are paying for.
I know, it's disgusting.
They're unaccountable. They're unaccountable. It doesn't come out of their back pocket, Kevin.
Of course it doesn't.
It's yours and mine. And we're going to be paying this debt off for many years ago. When people are starving, when people can't afford to pay their bills, and you've got these MPs going around struggling, saying, thank you for giving me the life of Ryder, I'm going to carry on, please vote for me. I'll tell you where to stick it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they're so entitled, aren't they? And they don't like it when people like us, you know, you, me, particularly the media, but just people generally, start saying, hang on a second, did 10 MPs just go on a fact-finding mission to Sierra Leone for a week at taxpayers' expense? What exactly? I mean, I'm just making this up. I mean, I'm not saying that 10 MPs did do that, but it's the sort of trip that happens all the time. MPs flying around the world on fact-finding mission. What on earth is the Speaker doing in St. Helena, in South Africa, in Canberra, in Los Angeles, in Gibraltar twice, in the Cayman Islands? What is he doing? What is he doing? You know, I don't know. Last time we did the story, Herbie, I got a sort of a shirty letter from his office saying, you clearly don't understand the role of the Speaker. Yeah, I do. He's a bloke, sometimes a woman, by the way. I don't want to be sexist here. It's someone who sits in the chair at the end of the House of Commons shouting order. That's about it, isn't it?
Kevin, the thing is, don't forget that Labour sent over to America for Biden, for his election campaign, the 100 people, didn't they, to fight for their campaign?
Mind you, to be fair, that was probably from Labour Party expenses, and I think that they mostly paid for themselves. I don't mind if political parties want to shell out on this kind of thing, but I do mind when it's taxpayers' money, when it's my money, when it's your money. We need to find out more about what Lindsay Hoyle has been up to, and I think the fact that this government spent more than £2 million on private jet flights in the first 3 months of their tenure is also a disgrace. David Lammy alone, Herbie, in the first 3 months after the government was elected, after Labour were elected, he alone spent £851,000 on private jets. It's disgusting. It's a disgrace, isn't it?
It's around his waistline, I think.
Yeah, spent £851,000 on meals. No, he didn't do that. Herbie, always good to talk to you. Keep in touch. Thank you very much for another excellent call. Herbie in Harrow. We'll go to break now. More of your calls, more of your messages and your WhatsApp voice notes when we return.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, before we go back to the phones, by the way, this is from Gaz in Kidderminster. He says, in terms of Rachel Reeves replacing Winston Churchill with a woolen woman. It's just, I mean, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry, wouldn't you? Gaz says they're taking down our history just like they're taking down our country. Love the show. I put that bit in the end. Thanks, Gaz. But I agree with you. That's exactly what they're doing. Taking down our history and taking down our country. Well put. This is from Joanna in Salisbury. Hi, Kev. War on art, guilty conscience because they don't belong there. I'd like to know how much money they wasted on replacement art, not exactly cutting back on unnecessary expenditure, are they? Well, I just said, Joanna, that Keir Starmer, since he moved into number 10 Downing Street, has spent £80,000 taking down pictures he doesn't like, you know, of William Shakespeare, Queen Elizabeth I, also, of course, Margaret Thatcher, and also getting rid of a blue colour scheme because that's a bit Tory. 80 grand. These people don't give a damn about our money. It's our money they're spending. They're too entitled with our taxpayers' money, and I think we need a Doge situation, and if the government won't do it, we should shout and scream from the rooftops so they know we're aware that, as I say, sorry to say this again, but they're just taking the piss. They really, really are, and I've had enough of it. I don't know about you. Right, let's go to the WhatsApp voice notes. This is on, I've got 4 on migrants. First up, Callum.
Kevin, I am an ethnic minority. I'm Scottish and I'm white. Therefore, I am a minority in my country, and I want my country back.
And you should have it back, Callum. I know what you mean. I think a lot of people feel like that. They feel like this invasion that's going on, million a year, 160,000 illegals, million legals, you know, year in, year out. The country now 70 million people and rising. They just feel that this country, we're losing it. We're losing it. I mean, I'm not, you know, this isn't, oh, we all hate foreigners. It's not about that. It's just a million foreigners from different cultures, different languages, different cultures, everything, coming here, and just setting up home. And now we've got 1 million people who can't speak English. You know, this country is being changed by these policies, and I think a lot of people are worried about it, including Callum. Here's Anna on the migrants.
Evening, Kev. I don't care how you get rid of these people. I actually don't care where they go. I watched a woman today in London be mugged in broad daylight by 2 immigrants. It's there. It's plain and simple to see. They just took her stuff, Kev. I don't care anymore. I want them gone. Because if we start taking in 1,000 a week, imagine that for 4 years. It's only going to increase as well. That's 1,000 that we know of.
It's a good one, Anna. I like that. We've got a couple more on migrants, but let's try and sort of vary the pot a little, shall we? Let's go. We've got a couple on the NHS. This one is from Chris.
Genuine question. I don't see how the NHS is struggling so much. Surely if everyone's identifying as animals, cats, llamas, etc., surely it should be the vets that are under pressure, not the NHS.
Yeah, just go in and identify as a pregnant woman, see how you get away. They'll treat you as one then. Here's Dave, also on the NHS.
Hi, Kev. It's just about the stuff at the NHS asking male patients of 70 years of age if they're pregnant. They need to stop this woke, because we ain't standing for it. They really need to get a grip. If they're forced to do it, why should they have to? Common sense, just tick box. Absolutely disgusting.
Very good. Couldn't agree with you more, Dave. Let's go back to... Still got a couple of messages to go. We'll play those out in due course. But in the meantime, let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to David in Scotland. Hello, David.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. What would you like to say?
Oh, well, you've put so much across the show tonight. I'm actually...
You just don't know what to talk about, but take your pick, David. Anything you like.
Yeah, well, I would love to. I think you were the one that broke the news about Ed Miliband the other night there, that's maybe going to get removed from government. We agree.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I'll tell you what, the reason, I mean, it is absolutely true that there's serious talk in Westminster that Miliband might not be long for this world in terms of being net zero secretary, because the government's obsessed with growth. How they're going to get growth after that budget by Rachel from Accounts, I don't know. But Ed Miliband, Crazy Ed's net zero madness, his zealotry, is the enemy of growth. And people in the cabinet, especially Rachel Reeves and the pretend solicitor business secretary Jonathan Reynolds, they are at war with Ed Miliband. They don't want all of this net zero stuff.
Yeah, I understand all that. But see what I'm wondering about is, see if this does go up in the air, this net zero stuff, see all these consultants and these groups that they've took on basically to look after the net zero stuff.
Yeah.
Are they going to walk away if this gets cancelled with the gold-plated pension, with an annual salary?
Almost certainly, David. Almost certainly. You know,
it boils my blood. This boils my blood.
Yeah, it's called the public sector. It's called the public sector, and they get away with a lot.
I'm an electrician. I understand how these things work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm actually an electrical engineer as well. You ask one of them how a turbine actually functions.
Oh, they won't know that. They won't know that.
And we're paying this. I used to work in the oil and gas industry as well.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do, I think, see the 2 wells that were drilled with fracking, and I think that must be illegal for Ed Miliband to cement them up.
Well, you know, I mean, the thing is, we should be fracking, we should be drilling and exploring, and we should stop kidding ourselves, as Ed Miliband does, that this country can ever function on what they call renewables, windmills and solar panels, because it can't.
Kev, I'm telling you right now, we have got millions and millions of oil and gas.
I know. Well, they've
this country.
Yeah, David, they've just discovered one of the biggest reservoirs of shale gas underneath Lincolnshire. It's enough to power this country for 7, maybe 10 years, and that would bring our energy prices plummeting. But of course, we're not allowed to frack. We've banned fracking for reasons that...
20 years.
Yeah,
off the east coast, the west coast of Orkney and Shetland.
Yeah. All of that, but we're not allowed to touch any of that because of Ed Miliband's eco-lunacy. It's mad, David, it's mad. I hope the government sees sense. I hope they get rid of Ed Miliband, and they hope they stop imposing this nation-ruining, this economy-ruining net zero zealotry on all of us. It's crazy. We've got the highest energy prices in the world. Are we really going to put up with this for much longer? I hope not. David, got to move on, but very good call. David from Alva in Scotland there. We've got time now to talk to new caller, always like a new caller. He's in North Wales, and it's Martin. Hello, Martin.
Hi there. How's it going?
Very good. I'm glad you rang in. You want to talk about generic two-tier justice?
Yeah. I think it's absolutely appalling. I was watching your show earlier, and it was announced about the drunk driving thing. And it seems that, if you're from an ethnic minority, you get a more lenient sentence.
Well, ethnic minority, or minority religious groups. Basically, what they're saying is, if you're, an immigrant or ethnic, or if you're anything other than white British. Like me or whatever, maybe you as well, Martin. I can't see you, but I'm assuming. Anybody apart from us, they get special treatment. When it comes to sentencing. Special leniency. That's two-tier justice. And they've written it down. They've written it down in black and white.
That's brilliant, yeah.
Brilliant is not quite the word, but yeah.
No, so look, I'm from Manchester originally, and we've got a place there called Curry Mile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if I was to get totally tanked up and go terracing down there in my car and took out a few of the Brown Brothers, would I get...
Well, I mean, I think you'd really get the book thrown at you if you did that. And frankly,
surely not.
Frankly, Martin, you deserve it as well. But I know you wouldn't do anything like that. But...
No, I agree. But the thing is, in that area, I would be a member of the ethnic minority, surely.
Well, that's the way. The way forward is just claim you're ethnic, because then you'll get lenient treatment. Absolutely outrageous, Martin. Thank you very much for ringing. Don't make this your last call. It's your first one, but don't make it your last. Good to talk. Let's. We'll go to John in Sutton after the break. But shall we play? Let's play one WhatsApp voice note and then go to break. Then we'll talk to John in Sutton. So there we are, John. This is Rob on the migrants.
Just dawned on me. Do you know the illegal immigrants that are coming over to the UK and over here as well in Ireland? They're going and getting their cases seen to by these do-gooder solicitors and all that kind of thing. How are they qualifying for legal aid when they're illegal? Will you answer me that, please?
Yes, it's a really good question, Rob, but that's what they get. As soon as they arrive here, we give them a free hotel, usually 4-star. We give them free food. We give them 45 quid a week. We give them free doctors. We give them free dentists. And the icing on the cake, free lawyers to fight their case to stay here, even though they came here illegally. This system is barking mad. We'll come back to all right, no, let's play Claire. Here's Claire on the migrants as well. She always does a great WhatsApp voice note. So take it away, Claire.
Evening, Kevin. It's about time the Smash the Gangs is recognised as a soundbite put about by Starmer 2. Like Sunak, part of a globalist elite hierarchy who live in a different affluent world, who do not believe in borders and want the illegals coming into this country. Do they care? Not one iota. It pleases their ideology of a multiracial, two-tier society of mayhem.
Claire, she does great WhatsApp voice notes. Keep them coming, Claire. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely disgraceful. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk to John in my old patch of Sutton in Surrey.
Well, I oppose the Iraq War, but I think it's worthwhile pointing out that this country was pretty much the first country to come to the assistance of Uncle Sam when he declared his war on terror.
Yep.
And I remember serving in Iraq alongside a brave American serviceman. And I tell you this, I also remember lining the streets of Royal Wood and Bassett as those coffins with the Union flag on top came back with our boys inside. And I'm not going to take any lessons from the Vice President or the President or whoever you like.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's play a last WhatsApp voice note. This is Chloe.
Hi, Kev. I just wanted to ask, you know, this two-tier justice system that we're going to have, how does that work within families then? Because my niece and nephew are mixed race, white British Filipinos, and they're about the same age as my children. So if they both commit a crime, one gets lesser sentence than the other, even though they've lived in the same town, had the same opportunities, and are British. It's very divisive, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Chloe. Absolutely. Two-tier justice is not a good idea. Let me quickly... by the way, this is a shout-out. Sally in the Outer Hebrides. I love it when she's tweeted, sent me a couple of messages. Sally, I haven't got time to read them out tonight, but send me some more tomorrow. Love hearing from you. You must come on the phone sometime. I'm fascinated by all of those islands. I've never been to any of them, but would like to hear about them. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to John in my old home patch from the Sutton Herald, Sutton in Surrey. Hello, John.
Oh, hi, Kevin. Another super show, mate. Top drawer.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Just I'll be brief, Kevin, right? The row with Zelensky, you know, and Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I don't blame Trump for being frustrated with Zelensky for the simple reason that it's of vital strategic importance to America now to switch focus to the Indo-Pacific, Kevin. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. And he sees Zelensky as not wanting to cooperate, you see?
As you say, John, I mean, don't forget Zelensky. I mean, there's a lot of backdrop to that row. And a lot of people say, well, he kind of swaggered in there, you know, bringing pictures of babies being injured and saying this is why you've got to carry on supporting Ukraine, tried to play the media a bit, you know, support Ukraine, and then sort of made that statement that really annoyed Donald Trump is that the end of this war is a long way off. I think Donald Trump is proving that maybe it isn't that far off. And whatever you think about what happened in the Oval Office, by the way, John, I can't get too worked up about it. So what? You know, a grown man who's led his country through 3 years of war, walked into an office, had a bit of a row with two other guys, and everybody, oh, it's so terrible, he was bullied. I don't care. Donald Trump, I think, has achieved exactly what he wanted to achieve out of it. He went about it in a way that Europeans don't seem to like. I don't care. I support Trump's drive for peace, don't you?
I do, yes, I do. But the latest threat from China today, I think, says a lot. They said we're willing to fight America in a trade war, a tariff war, or any other war they want.
Interesting. And China. I mean, we have reason to believe China is preparing to invade Taiwan. And if China invades Taiwan, it will make Ukraine look like a tea party. If China invades Taiwan, that is World War III.
Yeah, and they had 3 warships down in the Tasman Sea carrying out live fire drills last week, Kevin.
Yeah, and they regularly invade Taiwanese airspace with their own fighter jets, there is a general feeling that China is building up. Yeah, building up.
They are, and the Tasman Sea, Kevin, is between Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing all the way down there? That's an affront to AUKUS.
Yeah, well, they're saber rattling. They're showing their power. They're beating their chest and saying we're China and you better watch out. And you're right, John. Trump's focus, the reason he wants to get rid of Ukraine as a problem is he needs to focus on China. You're right.
Indeed. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, well, it's a very good thing to say, John, and thank you very much for an excellent call. Please call me again. John in Sutton. Petri Hoskin will be in just a little while to tell you what she's got lined up for your entertainment from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. Don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. for another edition of the Political Asylum. Remember the name of your own show if you can, Kev. It does help. Political Asylum tomorrow at 7 p.m. In the meantime, let's go to Exeter and talk to Simon. Hello, Simon.
Hello, mate.
Yeah. What would you...
So I'm all in favour. You know, this new Labour, this thing where they're saying, you know, let's give minorities.
Yeah, special treatment for ethnic minorities.
I'm all in favour of it. Really.
Are you?
It won't be long, mate, before we will be the minority.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, but then again, I don't think we'll ever be classified as ethnic, if you see what I mean.
Oh, God.
You see what I mean? This is... The actual statement refers to ethnic communities, members of ethnic religions, community religions, all of that. So we're not ethnic, so I don't think we'll make the grade.
Well, let's face it. If they outnumber us, we will be the ethnic ones.
I suppose you could say that. I don't know. It's an interesting point. We'll have to wait and see. It should happen in about a year, I should imagine. We'll be in the minority, the way things are going. Simon, very good point. Interesting. We'll have a look into that. Simon from Exeter there. Let's go to Georgina in London. I've got a note here. Did you enjoy Meghan Markle's show, Georgina?
Don't even talk about it. How dare you? I was sat up till 2 o'clock this morning in a social vortex watching this woman do ridiculous things with vegetables.
I know.
There's no protein whatsoever. No wonder that poor Harry looks so poorly. It's terrible.
Did you see, I don't know if you saw when I had my guest Ali Ross, my friend from The Sun, he said that over 8 episodes, I must admit, I kind of lost the will to live after about 1.5 episodes. But he said that he's never seen so many vegetables chopped in his life.
Honestly, I just couldn't bear it anymore. I don't want to see another vegetable for the rest of the month. Honest to God, I went downstairs and cooked myself a burger. It's too much. I can't handle it. It's too much. I won't be watching anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's very... Do you agree with me that it was spectacularly boring?
Well, I could have actually gone to sleep. And I'm not being horrible to this girl. She's obviously needs a few quid. So everything that she was making on her, she's obviously bringing a cookbook out. There's a cookbook on the way. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, what? Like telling you how to chuck a bit of pasta in a pot and put some tomatoes in and then boil it.
Nigella Lawson. She wants to be a higher class Nigella Lawson. Sorry, Meghan. It is not working, okay?
The difference being that Nigella Lawson is a good cook. I discerned that Meghan Markle isn't a particularly good cook, and her recipes, the dishes she was making, were dull as ditch water. Probably taste like ditch water as well. Georgina, with you all the way. Thank you for another excellent call. Georgina in London there. She's here. It's Petri Hoskin. You got hours this time for the handover. I know. Last time you're sitting there in silence because the microphone wasn't working. Have you seen Meghan Markle's show yet?
Do you know what? It's not my cuppa.
Well, it's not exactly mine, but I thought I had better watch it.
No, but I just, again, like Georgia was saying, I don't need somebody to teach me how to cut crudités and put them around a pot of hummus.
Yeah, or to make rainbows out of fruit. I mean, come on.
Come on, love. We've got a life to live.
Exactly.